Morning for Wednesday, September 23rd. Hope you're doing well. Some really tragic news to talk about today, and what I call troubling and even maddening news, to be perfectly honest with you, with regards to Oneil Cruz, the Pirates prospect, who I'm sure you've heard by now, involved in a traffic accident in the Dominican Republic, 3 people killed. On Nittany Sports Now, we're going to talk a lot of Penn State sports, obviously, but we're also going to cover Central Pennsylvania sports. I've covered the Altoona Curve for 20 years. Oneil Cruz was in Altoona this summer at the satellite camp, played for the Curve last year. I talked to him a couple of times. Nice young man. He would have been back with the Curve next year. But involved in a traffic accident. He was driving and apparently hit a motorcycle. 3 people on that motorcycle killed. He faces a hearing. He was driving under the influence. So here's what I want to talk about. This is tragic and heartbreaking for Oneil Cruz. But 3 people died here. I'd like for us to get some perspective here, because what ends up happening when these things happen in sports is we talk about the athlete and we talk about the team and what's going to happen to them and how it affects the team. 3 people died. Let's try to keep some perspective when things like this happen. It's not just about sports. It's not just about Oneil Cruz's baseball career. It's about his life. And when the news broke last night that alcohol was involved and he apparently was under the influence of alcohol, I wrote this on Twitter, oh no, because that to me is where the sad and tragic part turns into maddening. We don't know all the details yet. There are reports out of the Dominican Republic that his car was driving in the same lane as the motorcycle, and the motorcycle didn't have lights on. Now, if you think about that, if you're driving on the road and there's a motorcycle in front of you and it doesn't have its lights on, sure, it's feasible to think that there could be an accident. That's understandable. But when you're driving under the influence of alcohol, apparently as he was, and he's going to face charges, and the report out there is that he could get 5 years in prison, the alcohol part takes this to the different level, if indeed that's the case. So what I want to discuss is, to me, just how maddening it is that we cannot stop drinking and driving. It is a major, major problem in this country, all around the world, apparently. The issue that we have with alcohol and drinking and driving is sickening. It's maddening. And I'm going to go on and get on my soapbox here, and I'm going to preach a little bit. Don't drink and drive. This is a young man who 3 people died. And again, how much of it is accident, circumstance, alcohol? Again, we don't know all those things, but it's easy to just say, don't drink and drive. We live in a culture where we all just think you can have some alcohol and get out and go in your car. And even if you get in trouble, you might get a ticket, you might get a fine or what have you. We don't have severe enough penalties, not in this country especially, for drinking and driving. If you've ever known anyone who's died or been in a major accident from drinking and driving, you're going to live the rest of your life not knowing that person, with the grief and the sadness. We treat alcohol in this country. You watch any sporting event, it's the main sponsor. All the TV commercials are about alcohol. You go to the ballpark or the stadium, there's all this alcohol everywhere. Hey, look, I'm not a prude. I drink a glass of wine most nights when I'm at home and when my wife is here. And I know I'm not going to get out and drive. I will never, ever get out and drive after I've had a sip of alcohol. Don't do it. Just don't do it. We tend to think in this country, well, you're out at a bar, you drink some and everything will be fine. And yet, boom, life can change in the blink of an eye. And this isn't about Oneil Cruz's baseball life. This isn't about the Pittsburgh Pirates. This is about 3 people who died. And if indeed Oneil Cruz was responsible in drinking and that would cause this accident, then his life will never, ever, ever be the same. Tragedy, heartbreak, but really just maddening. If you're drinking and driving, or if you're ever around people who are drinking, stop them, prevent them from driving. We must do a better job in this country of avoiding drinking and driving. Have a good day, folks.